have language like that that says hotels outside of the activity center, south of Lake Street, no, that's not where they're intended to be. Now, these provisions in the small area plan, of course, got brought into the Minneapolis plan, your comprehensive plan, when you adopted the small area plan. That's what happened. So these provisions are by adoption also part of the comp plan. But perhaps more significantly than that, the comp plan itself has a future land use map for the southwest sector. And that draws some borders, boundaries for the activity center around the intersection of Hennepin Lake. Proposed site is outside of those borders. Then that was in 2010 when you adopted the zoning changes. You create this activity center that allows large hotels within it. We're not within the activity center. So right there in the comprehensive plan, you show this site outside of the activity center. Now, staff said, well, we've done that before. We've built some buildings on Lake Street that are outside of the activity center that needed a C3A zoning. When I heard that, it reminded me of what my mother used to say to me moons ago when I would say, well, Mom, I did that before. And she would say, Tom, I didn't know about it then. You shouldn't have done it then either. But here, so you shouldn't have done it. But here, there's a difference even beyond that, which is that those uses were north of Lake Street, and they were for uses that were permitted within a mixed-use area. They weren't a large hotel, which is only permitted within the C3A zoning district. So that doesn't carry any muster. They're different. You go back to what the small area plan says about south of Lake Street. No. Now the fact that it's inconsistent with the comp plan is important. There is a state statute that says when you have a comprehensive plan and you cannot enact an official control, as a new zoning district or new zoning property, if it is inconsistent with that comp plan. State law prohibits it. And that sets up a way in the process for amending the comp plan. You got to amend the comp plan first before you can rezone here. I think that's real straightforward interpretation, state law. Now,
Councilmember Goodman has a question.
Mr. Johnson, I'm just wondering what your interpretation is of the point I made earlier that while these applicants were in the process, a hotel was allowed in the C2. So we then made a change, not targeted at them, to only first allow these kinds of hotels in the C3. So wouldn't they basically have a right and be able to come back to the city and say, you changed the process on us midstream? We've been working on this for a year. You make this change 8 months into our process or maybe more. Don't you think they could come back right back at us on that zoning change and suggest that we interfered or tortuously interfered with their ability to get their project done?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Goodman, they have a right to build a hotel in the C2. So they do have. It just has to be 20 rooms or less. That's the law now, and I think it was the law back before the change. If that's different, if they could have built the larger hotel, you're saying they could have built a 123-story hotel in that? I don't think so, but we can go back and trace that ordinance. I mean, a hotel can be built on this site, but it's a smaller hotel. That's 20 units or less. Would that fit? Probably so. But that's not what the developer wants to do. We're here because the developer wants to build a large hotel on a small site. I'm going to skip over the ways in which the proposal fails the tests for under the rezoning criteria. One of them, of course, is that it has to be consistent with the comp plan. I've already covered that. It's not. And not only is that in violation of the criteria, it's in violation of the state law if you were to move forward without having first amended the comp plan. So with respect to the appeal on the CUP, and I'm only going to speak to the appeals on the conditional use permit and on the floor area ratio variance, because both of those speak to the development project, the project that's here being too large for this site, too large, too wrong in terms of use. The conditional use permit, again, when you look at what the criteria are, the first criteria is that it has to be consistent with the comp plan. It's not, for the reasons that I've talked about. And again, what is critical here is that the transition that's envisioned under the small area plan starts on the south side of Lake Street. Starts on the south side of Lake Street. North of Lake Street, that's where the taller buildings are supposed to be. The building envelope, the plan speaks of, when you look at those pictures, that's where the taller buildings are, not south of Lake Street. And this CUP, if it's granted, because they want to build a bigger hotel, that's fine, but just build it in the right spot in Uptown, and there's not an issue here. But to approve a conditional use permit to go from 4 floors to 6 floors after you've already been asked to increase what they can build by way of number of rooms by changing the zoning, I mean, that again speaks so loudly to the fact that this is too large of a project for this site. And again, the variance request for the floor area ratio goes to that very fact as well. Under the current zoning, the C2 zoning, I think it's the floor area ratio there is limited to 1.7. That's the top, 1.7. If you were to grant the rezoning, which the reasons I've just said you shouldn't, they would be allowed to go to 2.7. But they're asking to go to 3.78. So, way over twice as much as what's currently allowed, significantly more than what would be allowed even if it were rezoned to allow the higher intensity use. This is just too much for the site, and that's the whole issue. That's why it's in conflict with the comp plan, et cetera, et cetera. I'll take questions now if you have, but let me just conclude by saying, going back to the parking issue, that should be a showstopper until there is parking. Why go forward? Why go forward with this, one? And then two, you have to amend the comp plan if you're going to go forward with this project. Now, will the neighbors say, if you're going to do that, let's go back and look at that small area plan first, because if you think that what was the vision for the south side of Lake Street should no longer be the vision, you want higher intensity use, you want hotels. There's 3 uses that are allowed under the C3A that aren't allowed under C2. One are larger hotels, 20 rooms or more. 2, nightclubs, and 3, regional sports arenas. So that's the lump sum of it. But if you want to think about having Lake Street and the south side specifically open for those uses, then bring it back to the neighborhoods, let them start the small area planning process again. They invested thousands of hours last time, ask them to do it again. But if you say, no, we're going to go forward with this plan, even though this isn't what you wanted, and this is specifically what you said you didn't want, then I think you've really undermined the integrity of that whole process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have many people signed in. We will ask each person to stay within the 2 minutes. My vice chair is homesick, so I will manage the time as well. We do have people signed in an order, but Mr. Paul, if you'd like to speak first, that's That's fine with me.
Madam Chair, Council Member, President, thank you very much. I am Philip Qualley. I would like to respectfully protest the 2-minute time limit as being too brief and arbitrarily set. And I would like to note that one of the council committee members is not here. I am Philip Qualley. My wife, Paul, and I live at 3021 Emerson, and I speak today as a private resident. I respectfully request the City of Minneapolis to oppose this rezoning and all land use variance applications related to the proposal. Please be reminded the Calhoun Area Residents Action Group Neighborhood Board voted against supporting this current project by a margin of 41-10. I ask the committee to give deference to those residents who live immediately near the area. This will impact our homes. I oppose the proposed project due to the applicant's request for a rezoning is not consistent with the Uptown Small Area Plan. Referencing state statute 525280 regarding additional findings to be made before a rezoning is approved, please reference the statute number 4, which whether there is a reasonable uses of the property in question permitted under existing zoning classifications going on. The CPED staff report itself states the existing C2 zoning of the property allows for reasonable use of the property. Allowable uses include mixed use commercial, residential, and professional services, and that is what we have now with Emerson Row, a very successful building on the south side. The only problem at this site is the proposal itself, which increases density by over 100%. Returning to statute reference to be made, rezoning is approved. Item 5, whether there has been a change in the character or trend of development in the general area of the property in question, and goes on from there. Point of fact, please, let us be clear. There has been no development, no change to increase the height of a building on the south side of Lake Street from Lake Calhoun at Knox Avenue east to Interstate 35W, including the areas of the Uptown and Inland Lake small area plans. City staff cites an example to justify building height as a change within the location of 1300 West Lake Street. This is comparable is not relevant. It is on the north side of Lake Street near the activity center where the USAP identifies more intense development. Using the 1300 Lake Street building as a comparable is no justification for expanding the activity center 2 blocks to the east in a non-contiguous manner and jumping across Lake Street to the south side. Again, in the local area, east from Fremont Avenue, there has been no, on the south side of Lake Street, there has been no change in the building heights. We have new buildings that are a story and a half that service the neighborhood. And across Lake Street, even from this site, there is Arby's and there are still single-story buildings. I wish to speak to the intentions of the USAP to create transitions from the height density areas and residential areas. Let me be clear, the transition area is at Lake Street. It includes the width of Lake Street and the first 2 lots, not at mid-block of the residential neighborhood where the applicants now propose. To assert a 6-story hotel next to a 2-story home is not going to damage our home's livabilities. Our right to enjoy privacy and financial values is not credible. A 6-story building on the south side of Lake Street will have dramatically increased impact that is, in the end, and is detrimental to our single-family homes. I would just like to close and say in some, the proposed rezoning of this property is inconsistent with the small area plan and meets none of the criteria. And I wish to speak just very quickly to the variance for the rear yard and alley lines loading dock variances. And there is an unreasonable safety threat to the general public. A zero setback would create a dangerous situation for cars entering the alley from the hotel at a blind 90-degree intersection, in particular for walking pedestrians, due to the cars exiting the alley onto Lake Street. Even with the minor corner cut out of the development as designed, there will be virtually no way for a car pulling onto Lake Street to see if the pedestrians are approaching, or vice versa. The traffic pattern also relies on a one-way commercial traffic operation into a 2-way alley. Cars on Lake Street turning into the alley southward will face a head-on with hotel cars with no way to back up safely because of the blind wall. The other piece here, we're very concerned with no hotel curb cuts that direct cars to turn left out of the hotel, so our alleys may become thoroughfares for speeding valet drivers. We are also concerned as to any delay entering traffic at the hotel and the real potential waiting cars will back up onto Emerson at the Lake Street intersection. The variance for no loading dock therefore means commercial delivery and garbage trucks working at curb and blocking alley potential. These unanswered factors lead to the reality that the proposed project is too big, far too high in intensity, with the danger to the general public for the area you are trying to develop. I ask you to reject the rezoning and all variance applications in their entirety. Please uphold the small area plan and the Minneapolis comprehensive plans. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Qualley. I'll just note that as the appellant, we did allow Mr. Qualley to speak as long as he would like, but now we would like each person who's part of the public hearing to please stick within the 2 minutes. This is a quasi-judicial public hearing on the appeals that are noted in the agenda. We'd like each person to please state your name and address for the record before you speak. Please try to keep your remarks relevant to the appeals, and please try not to repeat too much of what someone else has said. So with that, we will begin with Sarah Lynn Romanishin. And then after that, we have Clark Olson, Joan Marks, and Aaron Rubenstein.
My name is Sarah Lynn Romanishin, and I am a resident of Lowry Hill East. I am here today to speak on several issues and ask that you consider the following. 1, support the appeal submitted by Philip Qualley and vote against the CUP and all variances for the Moxie Uptown Hotel. 2, vote against. Is anyone listening to me? Okay. All right. Second, vote against the appeal submitted by Ben Graves of Graves Hospitality regarding the front yard setback variance. 3, do not approve the Linden Hills rezoning study and do not adopt the finding that obtaining consent signatures for the rezoning of properties from residential to commercial in the Linden Hills rezoning study would be impractical. 4, listen to the residents of Uptown, Linden Hills, and all of our Minneapolis neighborhoods. Follow the small area plans and zone to our specifications, not yours. 5, stop the teardowns and destruction of our neighborhoods. It is March 2016. Elections are less than 2 years away. CPED and City Hall shenanigans are now public for everyone to see. Notifying residents is not practical. Shenanigans. Ignoring community wants and needs. Shenanigans. 4 stories does not equal 6. Shenanigans. Fudging the meaning of small area plans. Shenanigans. CPED and City Hall have become synonymous with shenanigans. Enough damage has been done. Neighborhood voices must come first. It is time to back away from the shenanigans, stop playing games, prove that you can care, and stand with us, your constituents, not against us. Thank you.
Thank you. We've worked out the technical difficulties now. So we have Mr. Olson, please, and then Joan Marks, Aaron Rubenstein.
Good morning. My name is Clark Olson. I live on 3029 Emerson Avenue South with my wife and 2 small children. Our house is within 300 feet of the proposed Marriott Moxie Hotel. As you all know, these rezoning decisions are significant. They stay with the property over time. And myself, my neighbors, we've all made significant investments in our homes, purchasing and maintaining under the assumption that the city would honor the Uptown Small Area Plan. As has been mentioned, the proposed location of this hotel is clearly outside of the boundaries of the activity center that is well defined within the Uptown Small Area Plan, and there's absolutely no precedent for expanding the activity center to the south side of Lake Street on Emerson Avenue. The projects that were referenced, they're all on the north side of Lake Street. If you want to look for comparable development in this area on the south side, I suggest you drive by the site. Look a block away. There's a 1-story mattress firm building going in, literally a block away from this location. So consider this proposal today and ask yourself, is this good planning? Is this good city planning? These are big decisions to me and my neighbors. Comment has been made before that circumstances have changed since 2008 when the original Uptown Small Area Plan was adopted. If that's the case, please, I ask, undertake a process to revisit the plan and look at it holistically. Don't make an ad hoc decision on this one tiny site that you can see on the map here that is going to have a significant impact on the livability and the safety of the area and the neighborhood that I live on and that I'm raising my kids on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Sorry. Joan Marks. Then we have Mr. Rubenstein, Kathleen Boku.
Good morning. I'm Joan Marks. I live at 3020 Emerson. And I'm in agreement with the people who've spoken before me. And I wanted to just reiterate and call to attention some of the zoning, the city's zoning code, section 520.30. The purposes in this project that has been proposed, it's in direct violation of 5 of the 10 underlying purposes of the city zoning code. The first one is to implement the policies of the comprehensive plan. Number 2, to promote and protect the public health, safety, aesthetics, economic viability, and general welfare of the city. 3, to encourage the most appropriate use of land throughout the city. 4, to protect the character and stability of residential, commercial, and industrial areas within the city, and to promote the orderly and beneficial development of those areas. And number 5, to prevent the overcrowding of land and the undue concentration of the population. The proposed project fails to meet these purposes. It's in direct conflict with the USAP and is contrary to the general welfare. And for this reason, it is undermining the balance, buffering, and transition between the commercial and residential uses of the south side of Lake Street in this area. It would be an inappropriate use of land, too large a building, and it's in directive. It's with the policy that calls for this kind of building in the activity center. There have been a lot of comments on Facebook and some of the other social media, and I wanted to read one comment from an East Calhoun resident. He wrote on Facebook recently about the proposed hotel. We want vibrant commercial districts and livable neighborhoods. With good planning, we can have both. Please say no to this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rubenstein.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Aaron Rubenstein, 3249 Emerson Avenue South. Before I begin my intended remarks, I just want to one point of information. I believe the area in question here is not 5 by 7 feet. I believe it's 5 by 15 feet. So I'd like to speak to the history and significance of the Uptown Small Area Plan as it relates to all of the zoning approvals, including those that are under appeal because they all require conformance to the comprehensive plan, and the Uptown Small Area Plan, or USAP, is a part of that comp plan. The Uptown Small Area Plan resulted from a number of intense development skirmishes around Uptown. Mayor Ryback found the funds for the USAP plan because of these divisive skirmishes and the importance of Uptown to the city as a whole. I was one of 20 members of the USAP steering committee, and many Carrick and Uptown residents were very involved in the planning process. Following adoption of USAP by the City Council in February of 2008, zoning in the broader area was evaluated and adjusted in the Midtown Greenway rezoning study adopted by the City Council in April 2010. Much of the urban village area north of Lake Street was rezoned at that time from C2 to C3A. It was clearly a purposeful decision to leave the existing C2 zoned areas between the Hennepin Lake and Lynn Lake activity centers as C2. USAP is a carefully crafted document that manages to balance numerous and competing interests very successfully in prescribing how and where Uptown should grow. It aims to promote orderly and predictable development, accommodate sustainable growth, and protect and enhance surrounding residential neighborhoods by, in part, concentrating height, density, and high-intensity uses in the core, that is, in the activity center and in that portion of the urban village between Lake Street, north of Lake Street, and the Midtown Greenway. All of these things are important for a strong and healthy Uptown that accommodates growth and has both commercial and residential areas that are vibrant and sustainable. It's about balance. The plan states, this plan proposes specific patterns of new growth that can achieve the goals of providing development capacity while simultaneously stabilizing the neighborhoods and improving open spaces and streets. Among USAP's stated goals are to support and direct growth in a sustainable manner by reinforcing surrounding neighborhoods, strengthening neighborhood edges, limiting commercial encroachment, and establishing high-quality transition areas. USAP is a great and important roadmap for Uptown, intended to be a 15 to 20-year plan. It's also a peace treaty. Many Uptown residents view it as a contract of sorts with the city, a shared vision for planning and development that was formally adopted as city policy as part of the comprehensive plan.
If you could wrap up, your time is over.
Certainly. I believe USAP takes precedence over the general comp plan policies because it's tailored specifically to this area. And lastly, I just urge you to respect and uphold the plan and deny approval of the hotel at this location. This type of project is precisely what the plan was meant to disallow. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. And I'd like to just distribute copies of the development intensity map in my comments.
Sure, thank you. Councilmember Goodman.
And I just want to note, Mr. Rubenstein did send us a lengthy email that had a lot of really good information in it, and I'm sure it was read. It was read by me and others. I just want to make sure you knew that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Kathleen. And then we have Julie Vessel.
Hello, everyone. I respectfully request that the City Council deny all variances and any kind of decisions related to this hotel. I'm a resident at 3309 DuPont Avenue South. I have 4 reasons why I request this. First, it does encroach upon the neighborhood and its livability for the reasons that have been already outlined so well by the people before me. Secondly, it abridges the rights of the 500 plus people who put this small area plan together, worked hard to balance all the interests, and the even larger number of residents like myself who trust that once this plan is in place, that our government will support it, city government, and that we have something that protects our neighborhoods and enhances its livability. It abridges those rights. This project also penalizes people who respect the small area plan and rewards those who don't. For example, I was at the Carrick meeting when the mattress firm person, business owner, said, I had no idea I could go and appeal all this and do something much bigger. If I did, I would have done it myself. So what message do we send when the people who respect the small area plan and fit within that lose out, in effect, to the people who are more well-financed with larger projects and come in and can carry through major changes to a plan like this? Lastly, this hearing, these decisions are not about this project. This is about a sea change for the small area plan. As the city staff person mentioned, decisions like this are used as precedents for other projects. So we're not just talking about one project here on the south side. We're talking about other projects by well-financed people, not necessarily from the neighborhood, coming in and making changes. So I think we should be able to make change. Let's do it through the small area process. Do not betray the trust of all the people who worked on that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Vessel?
Good morning, and thank you. I'm Julie Bessel. I'm representing Mono, which is a business at 1350 Lagoon. We are proud to call Uptown our home for over a decade, proud to be in that community, fueling what we can into the support of the surrounding businesses and community. And I want to express my support for this development and reinstate the commercial benefits for a company like ours, where 90% of our clients are out of state and travel here often to conduct business. And we are without an Uptown option in terms of their convenience. And as you may or may not know, business travel convenience is everything. So our options are downtown or Bloomington. And the need for an Uptown hotel would be a great benefit to our business, as well as recruiting, where we are totally attracting talent from all across the country. And again, to invite them into where our business is proudly planted and give them that opportunity to stay conveniently in proximity of our business would be a huge advantage. So I just wanted today reinforce the commercial needs for this, as well as everything you're considering. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have Paul Perner, Ashtok, then Sally Abner. I'm saying everyone's names terribly, but you'll get the idea.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. My name is Paul Perner, and I live at 3229 Holmes Avenue South in Uptown. I've spent 40 of my 45 years living in or around Uptown. And when the neighborhood started to gentrify with Calhoun Square and the Uptown Bar became the Apple Store, and then we saw Victoria's Secret move in, it lost its heart and its soul. And for a lot of us, we were gnashing our teeth about the loss of local identity and local ownership. And so the fact that we now have, we all agree that we need a hotel in Uptown. And this is a great opportunity for us on this location because now we have a local developer who lives in the neighborhood. All of this money is going to stay in the neighborhood. And if it goes to their grandkids, it's going to the other side of Lake of the Isles. It's not going anywhere else. They take care of the projects that they work on. Their projects end up on lists like Condé Nast's top 10 hotels, restaurants in the nation and the world. Minneapolis St. Paul magazine cited their restaurant in their hotel downtown as one of the starting points of turning Minneapolis into, excuse me, the culinary town that it is right now. I want that in my neighborhood. I want that in my city. That's why I'm here today. This is an opportunity to partner with a local entity who will keep this local. This is my neighborhood. This is where my children are growing up. This is where my children are going to grow up. My family is intertwined with this neighborhood and has been and continues on being that. And we would really like this kind of development in our neighborhood. And again, I appreciate your time. Thank you to my neighbors for taking such great care of the neighborhood with me. Thank you for the Graves and everybody else who's here to speak out. This is very important, but I ask that you please consider everyone's viewpoints. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashtok Doroval, and then Sally Ableitner, Troy Wenk.
Good morning. My name is Ashok Darwal.